Good morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the 31st day of October 2024 and welcome to our show this morning. So this morning we're going to start out with election fraud and maladministration with Jason Ickes and Candice Rojas. And then after that, we're going to go to a segment at 10 o'clock on Hunter Nation. And Keith Mark is going to be on with Shemane Nugent. And I'm really excited to talk to these guys because I've met everybody that's going to be on the show today, which is always fun for me because it's kind of like going home and sitting with a bunch of friends, right? Yeah, you know everybody. You know their intention and that sort of thing. It's a very, very fun thing for me. So at any rate, I'm going to go right into this maladministration nonsense and the cheating that we've seen coming out over the last few days. There's such a flood of this coming out. I don't know how I don't even know how this is going to turn out. If you really want to know the truth, I think we're going to be catching so many bad guys. And the way I look at it is, this has been going on for decades, okay? Just decades. We just didn't know how bad it was. And every day, more is coming out, more and more and more. And all I can say is thank God for everything he's done for us. And thank God for every one of these people who are so brave and wonderful to put their very lives on the line to bring this forward and refuse to be quiet about it. This is one of the most heinous, egregious crimes that has ever taken place because through the crimes of the elections, number one issue right now, because it's the only way we're going to change this, is getting good, honest people in position like the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, who had his rights violated in a horrific way. We are going to have honest people in the seats who have unwavering integrity and commitment to the United States of America and we the people, not the corporations, not the money, not the cartels. And I'm doing work on something right now on the border with a wonderful bunch of people. And I think we're going to find out how much the cartels, which goes to Venezuela, which goes to Mexico, which goes to the entire global organized crime network, has been running the United States of America. And you know what? I am going to live to see justice done. And I think there's a lot of us out there that feel the same way. That and the innocent blood that's been spilled on this nation and across the world for these corporate and global psychopaths. And that's where we stand right now. Justice has got to come. And I'm proud to bring these people on. So I'm going to bring on Jason and Candice. It's nice for you guys to be on today. Thank you for coming on. I think we need to highlight everything that's going on before the election because there's more people that need to be woken up and get in the game and vote, make your vote count. And I'm going to say it. I don't care if anybody likes President Trump or not. I could care less. This is not a popularity contest. This is about the law and the laws that have been broken and the rights of not President Trump as a president, but President Trump as an American who has had just incredible, unlawful attacks against him. And we need to stand for him as a fellow American behind him, backing him, with him. And I know you guys feel the same way. This is a matter of law, and the nation is a nation of laws, not men. Though as men, as people, we stand together. So what say you guys this morning?
Hear ye, hear ye.
Yeah, there you go. So, we've got a lot of nonsense going on in Michigan, which Jason's going to talk about, and Candice in Palm Beach, Florida. And I just want to say right now that I'm a Jeff Bongiorno fan. I know him. I think the man has done so much for election integrity, and nobody's really recognizing him the way that it should. He deserves that position as supervisor of elections in Palm Beach County. He deserves it. He worked for this. And it's not just go knocking on doors. He has literally been fighting so long to bring the truth forward. And if you're in Palm Beach County, you know somebody in Palm Beach County. I'm going to tell you what right now, he actually earned this, and he has gone toe to toe with the criminals that are in office, and we've got a flurry of criminals across the United States in office. He's an outsider, and he's just been pounding that issue.
Yes,
like crazy. He's amazing.
He is.
So what's going on down there that you can talk about?
Well, there's so many ways to eat. What we come across is that the establishment does not want to help to expose that, and it's troubling because I'm a very active member. I've been a member of our Palm Beach County Republican Party, and they do their best, but they don't have strong people in place. A lot of them are retired or 80 years old. That's who we're supposed to report crime to. And so we established our own little grassroots group, and Jeff is a part of that, where we were like the rogue outsiders in a way, where we stepped out of the traditional role and we became we called vote watchers, not poll watchers, because the poll watching that they provided for us was not enough. It seemed like it was just a superficial, when the real activity happens when the polls close. So we've been experiencing that at early polling locations in Palm Beach County. So we've been there's no process procedures in place. It seems like each one of the 28 early voting sites do their own thing, if you will. Either they're not telling us what they're doing because we're asking them, we're saying, hi, we're here as a public observer. And I by chance found a man sneaking out with 2 giant bags in both hands. So I reported that up, but that's just one element. There's no oversight. There's no transparency. We call them Zucker bags because Zuckerbucks paid for those receptacles, the mail-in ballot bags. There's no chain of custody on those bags when it goes from point A to B. There's so many issues. We could go on and on, but Jeff has identified many of those things that we're discussing, plus the ID lacking where non-citizens are voting. So it's very complex. It's not just one way. I mean, we already know the machines are corrupt and they can cheat through the machines, but there's so many other ways. And it just seems like everyone is turning a blind eye.
Everybody in office. I mean, what a bunch of hypocritical, worthless people who are sitting in there trying to protect their own interests. That's why they don't want honest people in there, because they've got an extortion, money laundering game going on that it defies even explanation.
Yes.
And of course they want to be in their little private club, which we're not a part of, in order to use us and continue to kick dirt in our faces as they walk away. I mean, this is high level criminality. And of course it's election interference. It's election. We could go ahead and make all kinds of charges, and they're going to stick. If you actually were in an honest court of law, they would stick, which damns all the judges and the prosecutors that refuse to step up. It absolutely implicates the legislature, which is a bunch of gutless cowards. You listen to them, and none of them are stepping up in a meaningful way. I should say not none of them. I'll give a couple of them a pass, but there's not many. In a meaningful way to press charges, to start articles, or to start proceedings of impeachment of, say, like, who needs to be impeached in Michigan is Whitmer, Nessel, Benson, and Brader. They're all involved in this, and you can't impeach Brader, but every one of them needs to be charged with high crimes, and it's not too hard to prove.
I was shocked, and I don't like to be accusatory like that. And I lived, I think, in a bubble for a very long time because I was part of the establishment, if you will. And I never would think that, like, it was hard to believe because everybody's well-spoken, they're polished, they have an answer for everything. But the bottom line is they're not, like you said, they're weaponizing even the sheriff department against grandmothers, children, citizens. And it's like, I always go, is this a joke? Are they really going to do this? And they do it every time. So, wow, they are our own law enforcement. I've been very disappointed.
Yeah, I have no problem pointing I have no problems pointing the finger on them, because it's like, if they come after me for something, that's great, because we're going to get into discovery and jump a couple of contacts away from them if we need to drag them out in the light and show what they did. That would almost be a glorious thing. It really would, if they would come after some of us and we got them in discovery. I don't think they got the guts to do it because they know they're guilty. But
Yeah.
what say you, Jason?
Well, speaking of discovery, and we can go into a whole lot on that, but I'll start with that. There is a few things I really want to talk about this morning, in particular with Michigan's elections, and then I'll go into then I'll tie it in. To where
Did
we
you
left
know
on
that X
discovery.
has censored me when I started to post the interview that Benson admitted that we have no way to have an honest count because the machines are not reading correctly, and there's no way to fix it before the election. She actually admitted it. I started posting this on X, and it would turn me down. Finally, I did like 10 different incarnations of rewording. And then finally I got one to kind of sort of stick, but I just posted for my Telegram channel, the link. If you want to see the whole link, it's there. So
Yeah, so on X, I try to do as much as I can using the left's language against them, because the reality is they project all the things they do onto the right, and so it's fairly simple to expose that hypocrisy using their own language. But two things that have come out recently. Yesterday, big deal. Two things blew up in Michigan, and that was the QVF and the absentee ballots. And just to give everyone, kind of get everyone caught up, what was uncovered is that people were receiving multiple ballots. But the thing is, it wasn't at their same address. What it looks like in the ballot chasing. So ballot chasing is monitoring the absentee ballot request and finding out who's requested and who hasn't, who's on the absentee permanent voter list that's going to get a ballot no matter what. And then the people, as they request absentee ballots and then send them back in. That's absentee ballot chasing. In Michigan, harvesting is illegal still. So chasing is engaging those people who are voting by absentee ballot. And the people who are chasing uncovered in the chase during the data polls from the Secretary of State's data that some people's old addresses, and in some cases married women's maiden names, were used to submit additional ballot requests.
Wow.
Now, on the outside looking in, it's hard to explain, right? Like, okay, so one person, for example, requested 29 ballots. That person didn't really request 29 ballots. And there's actively, right now as we speak, there are people who are going out and turning in police reports for their identities being stolen, because what happened likely is that some get out the vote campaign who was paying people to register voters.
Right.
Michigan already has over 100% voter registration. There's no way to register new voters in Michigan, right? Very, very, very few. Anytime you interact with the Michigan Secretary of State's office or the DMV, you're automatically registered to vote, whether you want to or not. It happens. Behind the scenes, it's done. And so you're already in that eligible voter database. Now, what's likely happening is that there's a get out the vote effort. Who knows by who? Last time in 2020, it was GBI Strategies. They got busted for turning in fake registrations. What's happening here is likely a very similar situation where somebody's injecting old voter roll data back into the system, probably through an API. So it might be someone like Eric or Rock the Vote, or someone else with access to the voter rolls, where they can just inject requests to add people. Now, those old addresses and old names will be accepted because of like, oh, they moved back, or there's some air of legitimacy because they're already in the system. So so there it passes essentially the sniff test, right? The clerk's office would be like, okay, but the thing is, the vast majority of these cases, they're not in the same zip code, they're not in the same towns, so it's not the same jurisdiction. So very unlikely to catch this error if you're not monitoring it at the state level. And that's where this discrepancy comes in, is because it should be the responsibility of the state to make sure that that does not happen, and that only the legitimate voter is maintained on the qualified voter file. So only the person that's on the qualified voter file should be able to request the ballot. The problem is we have same-day voter registration, and we have organizations that have API access to inject additional voters. So clearly there is a nefarious element here, injecting bad data into the voter file. And that warrants an investigation. That warrants serious criminal investigation. And the Secretary of State has downplayed this issue. But in reality, in normal cyber security parlay, this would be considered a incident that requires investigation, because you have normal quality assurance would not allow something like this to even progress to the point where it is. Now, let me just get to clarification on that. According to the data that was provided by the Secretary of State through FOIA, it shows that those ballots were cast. That means that they were returned. Whether they were tabulated, obviously that's not necessarily the case, because they were forced not to tabulate those ballots until they got to within the appropriate window. So they were held off to the side. So they may have been quote unquote cast, meaning that they were received by their proper jurisdiction. And it may be possible at this point, as long as they're still in their external sleeves, to be removed before being tallied. That's a possibility. But the other probable possibility out there is that some of these were rejected, right? Because if you have ballots that are going out to voters who no longer reside at that residence, and this is official mail, and that address does not jive with that person, the Postal Service could reject it, and those ballots could end up in a rejected pile. But they shouldn't be cast. They shouldn't be counted as cast. So there's an issue there with the potential that some of those were not rejected properly. Now, there is a rejected list, and those have been deducted from the totals. So just with what was reported yesterday is what was reported as duplicates, essentially cast. In one case, someone had 30 ballots cast from different jurisdictions under their name. And that individual is now going around, or possibly not necessarily that specific individual, but individuals that have been notified of this issue are going around now and to those police stations and filing reports that their identity has been stolen. And those videos will be going up live today as they go to those police stations to report their identity stolen, and that those ballots were not cast legitimately on their behalf. This will force counties across the state to open up identity theft investigations surrounding voting. And that's hopefully how we crack this case. Because clearly the appetite for the Secretary of State is not there to look into this issue. This is a serious issue, because if we don't have legitimate elections and we don't have legitimacy to the voting of our elections, we don't have a democracy, as the left likes to call it. I like to call it a constitutional republic, but the foundation of which is representation. And you don't have representation if your ballot is not being counted accordingly, right? So that's one long explanation, and one aspect is the QVF and the absentee voters and the chase. Now,
that's amazing that's going to the police departments. That's just amazing. And that there's people that are actually acting on that. I appreciate every single one of them.
Yeah, and Jeff down there, and Candice could probably speak to this. You guys have been doing a phenomenal job of just keeping on those. You've got, what is it? What's the Hispanic organization? Mi Familia Vota? Is that what it is?
Yeah, me feel. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of those get out the vote efforts, right?
Yeah, the NGO. Mm-hmm. They've been signing voters up, and it's just a whole bunch of shenanigans on top of shenanigans. And by the way, our own sheriff department, we send in things. So you in Michigan, you're doing better than Florida, where they won't even allow us to file the report. So they have a system, Palm Beach County Department, where they can block. Like, I spent 20 minutes uploading. You fill out the different, what do you call them? The online forms. And if you mess up on one thing, it says, sorry, error message, go back. Like, it won't allow you to do an online police report, incident report. We went there personally to drop off information with evidence. They would not accept the report. They said, we are not here, even at different locations of the sheriff. Our own sheriffs will not accept us to turn in a report.
These are not the droids you were looking for.
I've never heard of such a thing. It's like remarkable. I go, what? The police departments won't do it either. So it's good that your department is actually, cooperating.
Yeah. And a perfect segue too, by the way, because the next part has two elements to it, which one is the sheriff. So Sheriff Darleaf announced yesterday, made it public in a press release on X, that he has referred for criminal investigation, Dominion voting systems, elections systems and software, ES&S, Hart Intercivic, SolarWinds, subcontractors and agents. He put this out in a letter, a press release yesterday on X, that he has referred for criminal investigation to the Texas Attorney General's office, who has opened criminal investigations into those organizations and subcontractors and agents. So that's phenomenal. So law enforcement's moving along. We've got things opened and working through a lot of this shenanigans, which brings me into Dominion voting systems, which Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson announced yesterday that the voter assistance terminals, which Dominion doesn't refer to their systems as voter assistance terminals. That's state Secretary of State parlay. That's specific jargon to the Secretary of State's office. Because in Michigan, we have all three voting vendors and they all have different names. So they've standardized the language. Anyway, the point is that those are ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act, compliant devices, which means more election jargon, ballot marking devices.
It's like their word soup. It's like it's like Kamala crap going on here.
Word trickery, right?
Yeah, exactly. So ballot marking devices allow people with disabilities to either, there's a multitude of different problems, people with visual problems, hearing, reading, language barriers, all sorts of different issues that qualify. And so you may have someone go up and assist them in filling out this. Well, there's touch screens and you enter your choices. Well, and then it prints off your ballot. Because if you got Parkinson's, you can't fill in ovals and might mess up the ballot and things like that.
We call those express vote here. They're called express vote.
Oh, okay. So this is, that's I believe isn't that ES&S?
Yes, ES&S. Yeah.
Yeah. So these voter assistance terminals are not allowing the cross-party voting if you select straight ticket. So if you select straight ticket, basically you're not supposed to fill in any other partisan entries. So it creates overvotes and basically you can't cross over or anything else. So for example, in Michigan, the Secretary of State kept RFK Jr. on the ballot, and there are people who want to vote for RFK instead of Trump or Kamala, but they want to vote Republican or they want to vote Democrat. Well, he's not on either of those tickets. So anybody who's choosing to try to vote for RFK, but is trying to also vote a straight party ticket on these 88 machines, which, by the way, is this kind of a very confusing way of explaining to the public with Jocelyn Benson, the way she did it. These VAT terminals, because that's not a proper label by Dominion, they refer to their terminals as BMD or accessible devices. And so there's two types: the ICX, the ImageCast X, or the ImageCast Evolution. And so those are the two devices that are accessible. And she did at one point say ImageCast X, and that is a better way to make sure that everyone understands what it is. But if Express Vote is having the similar issue down in Florida and in other states too, right? Then this is a multi-vendor problem, multi-state issues. This is a serious problem across the country. And if you're not able to select your choice, make your voice heard in the way you want it, then are these machines actually functioning as intended? Now,
right.
Let me walk this back a little bit further. What happened in the last week is that BIOS passwords for devices in Colorado were leaked. And they were not correct. The problem was addressed to the Secretary of State's office. This is the same Secretary of State that had Tina Peters charged and sentenced for 9 years for the exact same crime of exposing the passwords to the system to non-authorized individuals. So she has exposed 600 passwords. If by her own terms, that's 5,400 years of imprisonment.
Wow.
For exposing all of those passwords. Now, this was days ago. Is it possible that this is one tiny aspect of the election system that's been manipulated? Because what else did we find? Votes flipping. Cast a vote for Trump, and the ballot comes out, it prints out as Harris. And if voters hadn't checked, and this is been reported in multiple states, that the ballot was actually flipping. Okay, well, if one of these states leaked the BIOS passwords, then hackers they've had a week to go in there, make modifications, jump and scout between networks, and they would have been able to do it with the credentials. They would have been able to recon and exfil database passwords. And if you recall, just 4 short years ago, we had this massive security breach by a vendor, which I just mentioned, referred to Ken Paxton.
Can I say it? I'll say it.
Go for
it.
No. SolarWinds.
SolarWinds. Okay. Well, we can just throw them all into this soup of complicity because they were all involved in it, and so come and sue me, people. Please come and sue me. Because
the crazy thing is,
really rumble.
You know why we were able to refer all those vendors and all that stuff to Texas? Because all of them have warehouses and they're all based out of Texas. They may have.
Here's a question I have. Okay, that Texas is basically, you look at the border towns. I'm sorry. There's so many people across the United States right now that are being paid off by the cartels and or coerced or threatened or whatever it is. You've got the cartels because of how they have through treaties taken about 130 miles of our along our border on either side and made it international land. So of course we're going to have a mess down there. I mean, this stuff is so interconnected. It's amazing.
It absolutely is. You're right. It is very interconnected. But what's that?
We have a VR systems that handles all of our voting. It goes
recording.
Intertwines with the different supervisor of elections. And during our primary, there was a glitch in 64 out of 67 counties in Florida. So we did cease and desist, and they certified the primary anyway.
Okay, this is a glitch. I love the terminology. They're like, oh, sorry, we made a mistake. It was a glitch.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
It's just a whoopsie.
Yeah, it's like
Hey.
you know what? Nothing to see here. Move along, United States of America. And Americans said, just go back to work as we extort money out of everything you've done.
And
You know what?
Don't speak of it again. What?
No one says anything. It was like I was shocked. Our REC had a meeting, which is our Republican Executive Committee. They never mentioned it. How could you not mention there was a glitch in 64 out of 67 counties? And we know that is really a breach, a security breach. It's not a glitch, but that's how they just, exactly. They just,
Sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, you know why they're not talking about it? It's because they're all involved. It's like
That's right.
When you look at the leadership of the Republican Party, it's like I had somebody come up to me at an event and said, what do you think's happening with the Republican Party in Michigan? And I'm like, pretty much nothing that I can see. I'm seeing like no leadership, no vision, no purpose here whatsoever. And they sit there and they go to meetings over and over again. But there's so much division, and it was by design. This is by design. We have too many agents of subversion in there who are on the team of destroy America, and that's with the globalists. That's with all of them. It's like in Michigan, we have 22 oligarch families. They're buying our elections. And so most people don't have the integrity. If somebody sits there and dangles a dollar in front of their face, they're gonna come and take whatever it is, and then they just keep bumping up the amount until they hit their point of where they're going to be compromised. And I don't know. It's like the Republicans should be screaming about the fact that Kamala is not she is not qualified to be president of the United States because she was not a natural born citizen. And why are they silent as the grave? They're silent as the grave. Same thing with the legislature. Silent as the grave. Why hasn't the Michigan legislature started impeachment proceedings against Nessel, Whitmer, and Benson? And because
it's controlled by Democrats. They stole it in 22, so they don't have the majority anymore.
Okay, so does this mean that does this mean that like everybody that's in there right now is complicit? Yeah, because they're not doing anything of that. They're not stopping the problem. And I don't know how many of them are being coerced or threatened. I'd say there's a lot because we've got the cabal activity, all of them are because the cartels are in every one of our state. About the time somebody gets smart enough up there in DC to designate them.
Madison Cawthorn.
Madison. Oh yeah. It's like somebody needs to designate them. Yeah. Throw a name out there. We're going to say man up or man up and get this thing out here.
That's what he did. Madison spoke out, and then what did they do? They did not let him back into Congress after that. They rigged their election against him. They did everything to destroy him they possibly could.
Right. So and I like Madison. I've met Madison. He's a good guy. So, but my point here is that the ones that did not bring this out have absolutely been trying to subvert this by silencing people, like the censorship or censoring like they did with Madison and such. So that implicates the whole damn bunch of them, right? It's like I don't know, why are they not designating these cartels as terrorist organizations?
Because they're all part of the same club.
Right.
Those are the enforcers. Those are the strong men for the oligarchs.
Yeah. And we can keep going on this for a long time because I think the amount of beatings that these people should take should never come to the end at this point in time. And nobody go out there and be stupid saying Donna Brandenburg's advocating beatings. It's like, no, it's like legal, lawful, continue to just let them have this because we can't state it enough. They're criminals.
It's hard for the average American to understand it because
it is.
People are, good-natured, everyday people, and I just see the enthusiasm. We do flag wavings here, and it's like the sweetest people. we have we organize, because this is Trump's backyard. We have Palm Beach County, and we have people in trucks, and it's really the hardworking blue collar people, the garbage people. That there was a reference to garbage, saying, you know.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
There we go. Sorry, somebody called me. But anyway, they organize it, and the sweetest people you've ever met. They're in trucks with the flags, and we're blasting music and saying freedom's coming. And those are the people. I know that a lot of them are good, just good-natured people. They don't understand the complexity of this evil. I don't want to believe it. A lot of times I go, are they playing around? Is this a joke? I mean, it's like hard to fathom that they would be this nefarious. And so it's gonna, I always say military is the only way. I've said that for 4 years, because there's like, what are we gonna do, beat people up? I'm not good at beating anybody up, so that's what I say. That's just my thing. But
but you know, Alejandro Mayorkas, I'm sure he's a nice boy, and he's, you know, it's like, that's like the top of the criminal list, right?
Yeah.
It's like that guy should have the perp walk. And,
the number one Cuban criminal asset.
Yeah, he sure is. It's like that one should have the first seat of recognition on the way to Gitmo. That guy should be first on the plane, right there, and followed with all the cronies around him, you know. And then we can start going down levels to, I don't know, probably 99% of them. It's true.
Well, Donna, I'd like to bring it back to where we started off.
Sorry.
Let me just bring this back. So remember how we were talking about discovery and how they won't sue you because you'd love to, you know, expose them through discovery. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about what else Darleaf just published yesterday on his.
And I love Dar. Dar actually called me yesterday. I was actually looking at a horse yesterday. You know, you gotta have a collection.
Oh.
And he called, and so I had a horse head like right here over my head as I'm talking to Dar. It was funny, and the horse is sitting here like kissing my hair. It was really funny.
Dar's amazing. Horses are great too.
Activity, you know.
But what Dar published yesterday is that the Secretary of State's office requested Twitter to censor Trump about Antrim County. Michigan's Secretary of State said, shut him up. Do not let him talk about Antrim County. Remember, Antrim County in 2020 had a complete flip, inversion of the votes from Trump to Biden. And Trump was talking about it on X. And the Secretary of State's office wanted him to shut up about it. And Twitter told them, no, it's First Amendment. It's free speech. He hasn't said anything that we can censor. So they rejected it on the first stride. So what did Benson's office do? They reached out to Dominion Voting. They reached out to Dominion Voting, and Dominion Voting's counsel for and executive vice president of government relations, Kay Stimson, turned around and asked CISA to censor Trump. And in the email chain, it shows that the person at CISA was number 2 under Krebs, Chris Krebs. Remember the guy who said the most secure election ever?
Oh yeah.
That his number 2 passed it on to the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force, like all the rest of the requests from Dominion. So who was running the censorship complex? Well, we know that CISA was doing it, but where were they getting their marching orders from? A private vendor that's mostly foreign people, and it was a Canadian company, but is predominantly Serbian developers.
Serbian.
Yeah. So this company is censoring the elected voice of the people, the president of the United States. You want to talk about who has power in this country? Do you think the president really has that much power? If a company that runs their voting machines can shut him up.
Wow.
It's all about the economic, but you look back at what the communists have always done, and they've always gone after the economic portion of the countries that they're in. They try to destroy the food, it's a supply line is what it really is. They try, and they run it as a corporation.
It's control.
And it's control. It's about the control of the supply line, the control of the money, and the suppression of the people through destroying the food, destroying the communication, the censorship, and any power.
They need you compliant.
Yes.
They need you compliant, willing, and weak. You have to be weak because they need to be able to control you. If you're strong, the slaves will rebel. So they have to keep them weak. They have to keep them compliant. And that's why they control the food supply and they keep it low. So your caloric intake is down to a manageable level where your ability to have enough energy to resist, to think clearly, right? If you keep an animal at low levels of energy and in fear all the time, then they can never properly assess their environment. They can never properly think clearly. And so that's exactly what the communists do, is they keep us like rats in a cage, and they only feed us when it's necessary to keep the machine, their cog running.
Oh, you want to hear something great that ties into this? So yesterday, I got a letter from Byron Township, the criminals on the township board who actually violated their oath of office at the last meeting and did not let us into the citizen, and gave the advantage to a developer that came in here that is not part of the community and never answered any of the questions that were brought up by the citizens in the township. Passed it, gave him a pass. No questions, actually admitted to taking their orders from the state instead of serving. They admitted it right there. They admitted it. So I get a letter in the mail that one of my roosters is crowing, and it's disturbing. Now I'm going to tell you, I am so far away from anybody else's house. It's ridiculous. It's not like we're right next door to them. And I'm sitting here going, maybe we'll talk about some of this and say, you have to be a good neighbor because this rooster is crowing. It's like, I know all of our neighbors, and so I don't know
Donna,
who it is. It's like this is targeting, just like they targeted us to hide a tax bill on my property. That I'm absolutely in the crosshairs. That's okay because they violated my rights when they sent somebody on my property without a search warrant and delivered papers to one of my employees, which was open, which has the signature of Peggy Sattler, the clerk in this area, who broke several election laws when they destroyed evidence, taking orders from the state. So that's okay. I'm not going to shut up about this. And guess what? I told them at the last meeting, I'm like, you can all be sued personally. That's the plan.
Look, you have a great argument because I've been to your place, and you know what the loudest thing is there? The freaking highway.
Yes, exactly.
The highway's louder than you. We can take an audio device and collect the decibels, and I assure you that the highway is much louder than any rooster there.
There's no possible way. I mean, I'm surrounded by it's crazy woods, and I mean, my driveway is a third of a mile off the road. It's like right. I'm bothering anybody out there, especially all the neighbors I give eggs away to. I mean, maybe they're jealous. That's what it is. They're jealous. I need to bring them all some free eggs, and maybe that'll shut them down. I don't know, but I can't pay off elected, criminals. I can't do it. I just can't do it, even if it means good eggs.
I think they legalized chill pills. I think they're called special brownies. They could probably use some of those.
I wouldn't do that, but it's funny.
The municipalities use these statutes that go against the Constitution. So all of these statutes are supposed to be null and void if they violate the Constitution. But that's what they keep doing, is they'll give a tit for a tat. So I do believe it's like we're targeted because we're outspoken.
Yeah. Oh no, we got to shut them down. They, it's their whole thing is we got to shut them down. They can't say anything. So if we create a few problems for them, maybe that will scare them away, or maybe it'll just piss us off.
Distractions, diversion.
Yeah, to try to, like you said, lessen the person where you're worried and you're all wrapped up in these petty, for me, it was this red light camera outside of my house, and I kept getting, these letters saying I violated this or that. It was a red light camera. I'd have to fight it. I got probably a lot of tickets, and it's, what it's from? Me going too slow, because I'm not going fast. I don't get through the red light, and it's supposed to be for speeders. It's right outside my door. And I feel like it's just a hindrance, something that they want to just nudge you with, because we're fighting the same people and we're calling them out. So that's their weapons to torment.
You know what? Like the sting is happening right now, and all of them are going to be involved. And I believe we're in a sting. Let them commit their little low IQ crimes. Let them come after us. Let them say what they want to say. Every time they do something stupid and open their mouths, it just gives us more evidence. Yeah, that's it. Keep it up, guys. Just keep it up, because justice is coming.
Donna, to bring it to another analogy, it's the big dog that knows it's the big dog, but the little Chihuahua is like nipping at its heels and everything, and the big dog just looking over like whatever. And then eventually the Chihuahua does something inappropriate, and then the big dog's like, what? Oh no, not acceptable. And then one quick swat tosses that little dog, across the yard.
Or steps on him and squishes them.
Exactly.
It's brutal, right?
I feel like time's ticking for these people. It's beyond, being acceptable. Like the only problem that I see is not too many people see it in the depth, unless you're an active grassroots volunteer. It's very, like, the average person is just trying to make a living and survive. They're not, thank God for podcasts like yours that will expose it, but the average person doesn't know all these things. That's what I fear, with the American.
And they don't have time to know all the things. Right. Look, we have so many specialists in society that, we've moved so far and advanced as a civilization so far that we have a lot of niche areas where there are experts and specialists in those areas. And you can only specialize to become a master in anything as an average human being is 4,000 hours, which roughly 4 years, right? So you can only specialize in so many things with the amount of time you have on this earth. And then there's also a limitation to how much, the average person can. Now, there's some exceptional people out there who are like just, genius level savants and that kind of stuff, completely abnormal. That's, that's not the average, right? But like the average person can only do so much. And then obviously there's some people who are not quite average, and then there's some people who are a little more than average, a little above. But the reality is you can only do so much. And when everybody is trying to spend time raising their family, going to events, participating in their communities, the rest of this is a very small niche. Yeah. And you might have one person in your neighborhood that even pays attention to politics. And that one person informs all the rest of the neighborhood. So if you're not speaking out and talking about this stuff, think about that. If you're watching podcasts like this, if you're participating by, ingesting political information and you're not speaking out about it, you might be the one person in your community that's the most well-informed. And if you're not informing others, you're really not, you're really, let's face it, you're hurting the rest of your community. If you're willing to take the time.
If you don't step out and you don't say something, you have failed your duty as an American. And it's like, I'm going to tell you what, I came from the Anon community before I came public and ran for governor. And I've written under many different names and such over the years. Oh. And I'm going to tell you what, when this stuff first started coming out, and I mean, I was in several research groups with different people, and we literally were on the chats and on all this stuff like 24/7. And I don't sleep a lot. I'm up all night long. If I'm on a rabbit trail on something, I'm just like, chasing it down and finding out everything I can about it, like a psychopath bird dog, and the thing of it is that all of us that were in that group of people were kind of like one of the first civilian plows that cut a furrow in the ground. you know? I mean, that's the only way that I can describe it. And there's so many people that dropped out of it because of the intense pressure and the rejection. It destroyed relationships between people, bringing things forward, isolated so many people out there. And we found each other and we stood together because it was more important to stand for the truth than just to bump along having the blue pill. Taking the blue pill, we were like full on red pilled and looking at everything and didn't really care who approved or disapproved of us, because this was one of those jobs that was going to take some tough as nails adults who didn't care about the approval of the people around us. The goal was to get the truth out and save this nation. And even if it was a small group of us, there's a huge group of us now. But there, you know, I think that when people speak the truth, it's amazing now when you speak the truth, people are like, I'm so glad you said something. I thought it was alone. Yeah. And the more truth you speak, the more you're going to realize that this nation needs your voice. We need you. We need you to stand together, and we need you to not care what people's opinion is of you, because, you know, like I know that with everybody here, we serve God Almighty first. That's it.
Amen.
And it's like when you serve God, you will be unwavering for that truth, and the consequences be damned. And run right at, if there's a, you know, and you know, you see the fire instead of running away from it. The only way, you know, and granted, okay, I've worked in some very, very tough industries and such. And as a woman, not that I want to bring this up, but, you know, I was actually, I'm old enough to really be put into situations that were, now would people be shocked? I mean, I literally had somebody at a bank say, I'd give you a loan, business loan, if you were a guy. That was it. And or refuse to play ball. I mean, this is the, you know, this stuff actually happened. It's not quite so much now, but you have to sit back and not be offended by, oh no, I'm a snowflake. They need to like bend around and make sure that everything is comfortable for me. That's not what adults do. It's like, if you're going to get into anything worthwhile, you're going to be attacked. You're going to be attacked by the people closest to you. Yes. I guarantee you that. It's not just going to be out there. You have to stand unwavering before God, because you know he put that in your heart. And that, guess what? He just tapped you for service. And service to God does not include the approval of others. It's keep your eyes on him, listen to what he's saying, have courage and faith, because he will bring to you everything you need to accomplish what he calls you to do. Yes. And the rest of them all of a sudden are going to go, I'm really sorry. Look what they did to Jesus. And once they killed Jesus, he came back, you know, they came back and realized after the fact, what have we done? We killed the Son of God. And for us standing there in truth, I'm not making an analogy of us, but the situation is some similarities, and we're supposed to be the body of Christ. We can expect this and then realize that God's going to give you everything you need. And then you may be the one that saves, you know, the situation, or that is actually the warrior to change everything in the situation that you're in. But that doesn't come by, you know, worrying about other people's opinions. It's by looking at the goal, refusing to back down, continuing to march forward until you hit that goal, regardless of other people's opinions. For truth and honor, God, family, and country. And it's amazing. But I appreciate you guys so much. And we need to talk more about this. What's the tally of how many votes have been cast, Jason, to how many registered voters there are in the sham state of Michigan right now, with the criminals sitting on top who deserve to have their sorry butts dragged off to Gitmo, tried for treason? And I hope we've got enough rope to accomplish the end game.
Well, if you recall, in 2020, the alleged victor won by a margin of 154,000 votes. Right now, we have approximately just over 100,000 ballots that appear to have been, according to the records, cast illegitimately. And if that stays on track, it looks like, Trump may be able to pull this state off, because the turnout is actually swinging in Trump's favor. The margins are all favorable compared to 2020. And the only thing that's not is the courts, the counting boards in Detroit, and that Benson said there's going to be essentially ballots coming in 3 days after the election. So with those things,
Benson the criminal.
The three witches, the wicked witches.
Yeah. Well, and I think this comes back to standing. It's like, I don't care what anybody says. If you think that your vote doesn't count, it doesn't matter at this moment in time, because what matters is that you have to do your duty as an American to vote regardless what anybody else does.
Yes.
You have to go, because you know what? This is the deal. They can cheat all they want. They've got cheating going on in so many different areas. We're in a war right now. Of course, we're going to have that stuff going on. But you know what? We've got each other. We are the American spirit happening here, being awakened. And it's our duty.
When we honor the fallen, the people who have come before us, who have given us this through their sacrifice, and through the generations before that have built everything up that we have, the least we can do is go out and vote, even if they're going to try to steal it or throw our vote away or magically make it disappear. The fact that we created a paper trail and did our duty, that helps all the honest people keep other people honest. And that's what we're supposed to do.
And that's just it. It's like, it doesn't matter what anybody else does. You are responsible for your own choices. And it is our duty as Americans to show up and vote. It is our duty to defend those who've had their rights violated, regardless what anybody's opinion is. It's our duty. All we have to do, and this is one of the things I hear people talk about a lot, is, oh no, the sky is falling kind of stuff. And you know what? In politics, well, we don't want to have the other guys know what we're doing. You know what? Who cares? I could care less in a business or corporation. I'm just going to outperform them. And that's all we need to do right now. Show up and vote and outperform them. And that's how we win. And so with you guys saying this standing here right now, Jeff Bongiorno, our buddy down in West Palm, if he has absolutely earned this position. He's earned it. And so his rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump. And with that said, thank you guys for coming on. I'm going to bring on Keith Mark next with Hunter Nation. And it looks like I've got to get a hold of Shemane a second, because looks like they're having a little trouble joining, and I'm not sure why, except for people want to silence us. So that's typical on, that's really typical whenever we're doing something, but we don't stop. We just continue to make it difficult for them. And in their faces, everyone, we're going to absolutely, here we go. I'm going to send it that way. We're going to absolutely continue to carry this forward. And so you guys have a great day today. If there's anything else I can do to help you, love you both. You're amazing. And we'll be talking soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. I'll be right back with Keith Mark. Good morning and welcome back to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. I'm Donna Brandenburg, and it's the 31st day of October 2024. Welcome to our show, and welcome, Keith. It's nice to see you.
Donna, good to see you again.
And I'm going to bring on the lovely Shemane Nugent. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thanks so much for having me.
You know, I was like totally excited about having you on. You know, I've met you a couple of times, and I just got to tell you, you are just one of the loveliest people I have ever met in my life. And I was so honored that you would come on my show today and, you know, talk about everything that you're doing and, you know, President Trump and the election coming forward. I mean, I'm so proud to stand with you guys, and you've just done an amazing service to the United States. So thank you.
Well, we are proud to stand with you, with other like-minded patriots who love God, love this country, love the shooting, hunting, outdoor sports, and are now not afraid to talk about it. I've been shadow banned and banned. I was off of Twitter even when Elon came back. I just got back on a couple of months ago. But now more than ever, God needs each and every one of us to stand up, no matter where you're at in this life, no matter what role you play. God has a purpose. And I always end my show, my Faith and Freedom show, with Esther 4:14, for perhaps you were born for such a time as this.
I love that. We were just talking about our service to God. You know, when you serve God, your soul focuses on what He's telling you to do, and He calls us all to do certain things. And you know, it's like God taps us, hey, you know, this is what I want you to do if you're really listening to Him, right? And He always gives you what you need to accomplish the tasks. It may be a little bit of a, you know, an uphill fight, but I also think that makes us a little stronger and smarter, and he gives us great gifts in adversity. So you just got to keep going forward, keep your eyes on Him. But so what do you have that you're working on right now? I'd love for you to just talk about whatever you'd like to talk about.
Me or Keith? You want me to just jump in and take over?
Yeah, Shemane, all you, girl.
Oh my gosh, I have a new book coming out in January. It was actually supposed to come out this November, this month, and I told my publisher, who, by the way, Skyhorse Publisher, is the same publisher as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. had for the real Anthony Fauci book. I said, I don't think we should release a book on being healthy and abundantly well in the month of November. Let's wait till January. But it is available for pre-order if you go to Amazon. So it's called Abundantly Well, and it's a 40-day devotional. Every day there's a little excerpt, there's a Bible verse, and a situation that's either happened to me or people who have written in. I have excerpts from Sam and Kevin Sorbo, and of course Ted, and many other patriots who, again, just want to see how we can make America great again. But it starts, Donna and Keith, we cannot help others unless we are healthy. My mom, I haven't really talked about this publicly. My mom had a stroke about a month ago. She's been in the hospital ever since. And, you know, I can't help her, visit her, help her walk, get her in and out of the wheelchair, and do the things that I have to do. If I'm sick, if I'm not feeling well, if I have that, you know, a headache, or I just feel tired that day, we got to be on our A game right now. We got to be, you know, if we're saying we're for God, family, and country, and we're sitting back on the couch eating Cheetos, which I would replace the Cheetos with the Fritos. But nevertheless, I try to work out every day. I'm not always perfect. I try to eat good. I'm not always perfect. But I think 80% of what we're eating and what we're doing has to be healthy, so that when God says, okay, Keith, you're in, you're up, go. You don't get to sleep tonight. You got to work. I need you. I need you on that wall. I want you on that wall.
Yeah, that's right. It's like we have to take time for it. It's like when you get on an airplane and they say, put your the mask drops on, put your masks on first before you help somebody else.
Absolutely.
And you know, I love Robert F. Kennedy. I've met him too, and what a sincere, wonderful, wonderful person. And you know, I'd love to see him as Attorney General, because I mean, that's really where he would just completely go after them, like go after the criminals that have poisoned our food supply, as well as so many other things. And he really fights for people's rights, and what a wonderful individual he is.
Yeah, it sounds like he's going to play a big role in the Trump administration, and I'm looking forward to that, because he was the only person really I don't know if you know, Donna, I know Keith knows my story. I got sick and almost died from toxic mold between the walls of my home that was once featured on MTV Cribs. And that's coming from, I was a state champion swimmer 2 times. I was once named Detroit's most physical female. I've been teaching group fitness classes since 1980. So when you go from the epitome of health and wellness to, I had 4 different types of mold in my bloodstream and pre-emphysema, and I don't smoke. When you get that, it's kind of like, okay, God, it's like nobody puts baby in a corner, as Patrick Swayze said. I was put in a corner. I had to come out fighting, and no doctors could help me. So I did all this research on not how to cover the problem which was detoxifying my body with medication and prescriptions, which is what most doctors would want you to do. I did what they call now functional medicine, or alternative remedies like infrared sauna, vitamin IV, oxygen. I was doing that 20 years ago. I've been doing it since. And Robert F. Kennedy's starting to talk about all this stuff. And it really does take us. We come out fighting and swinging, which is where we're at right now. We're put in a corner. We know what they're doing to our air. We know they're poisoning our food source. We know they don't want us to eat deer, venison. We know they're going after farmers and ranchers and hunters and people who just want to live their lives, want to be left alone. There was an 85-year-old rancher in Texas who had hundreds of white-tailed deer, and he just loved breeding them, and he let his grandkids bottle feed some of them. Well, Texas Parks and Wildlife came in and slaughtered them all for the rare chance of them finding CWD, chronic wasting disease, which they did not. And this poor 85-year-old man just wanted to be left alone. He had a great life. We have got to stop this insanity. And I think, to be honest with you, this is all a distraction. Keith knows, I've said this many times, it's a spiritual war. It's a war of good versus evil. You know that. We here have eyes to see and ears to hear. We can see all the signs. We're not rocket scientists, but we know. And our job, I believe, is to help wake other people up and help them see the light as well, and to come to the bright side, the light side, the God side.
Yeah, it's where he talks to us. Common sense rules right now, and it seems to me like there's a little bit of lacking of that in the people that are in office right now that are actually pulling the levers to change our society. But the health and wellness thing, I put your book up there for a minute so people can see that and go there and support Shemane and anything that she's doing, and Keith too, because they're really working on some very important things to get to people. And as well as, the hunters that are out there. I heard that a lot of the hunters are not voting, which is shocking to me that they do not. In my opinion, okay, every single person, it's their duty to vote. If you're an American, it is your duty to vote. Okay, there's no excuse for it. I don't care if you don't like anybody, still vote, and vote the lesser of the two evils if that's all you have. But to vote, you need to vote, right? And it's you're speaking to the hunters and the farmers and such, which I think is wonderful. I am a farmer, and I've got all kinds of animals and that sort of thing, which they definitely want to shut us down. There's no two ways about it. And so what are you doing to get the vote out with the hunters?
Well, it was startling to me when I first met President Trump back in 2016 when he was just a candidate. He said something that's really changed the trajectory of my life. And I know Shemane's husband, Ted, and I have been on this journey really since 2016 to try to fix this problem. But President Trump said hunters don't vote. At least they vote in very low numbers. And we got the data, and he was right, just about like everything else.
Why is that? That's like perplexing to me.
I say that same thing, and Ted goes, who cares why? Let's fix it. Yeah. And so there are a lot of reasons for why. Like Shemane said earlier, they're very independent, self-reliant. They just want to be left alone, and they don't want you sweeping their back porch, and they ain't coming over sweeping yours. unless it's a tragedy like in North Carolina, and then hunters do go help. But in the end, they just historically don't vote. About 40 or 50% of hunters don't vote regularly, and it's really crazy. So we've really set out to try to turn that around, and we've done that on a large level. We do it through a lot of means. We lean heavy on our celebrities. Ted Nugent's our national spokesperson. Nobody reaches the hunting community like Ted. Donald Trump Jr. is on our board of directors. He's a big-time hunter, my business partner in MacMillan River Adventures, which is an outfitting concession in the Yukon. And so we're using recognizable celebrities to tell hunters you got to get out and vote. Because when you think about it, Don and Shemane, we sit around and we talk about how we hate communism, we hate socialism. We talk about the fact that we're not fighting a horizontal war anymore. It's a vertical war. It's good versus evil, God versus the devil. It's not right versus left. It's not Republicans versus Democrats. And we hate the devil. We hate communism. We hate socialism. We hate evil where we find it. But you know what I have learned, and I dislike even more? I dislike apathetic good people that do nothing. They are the biggest problem that we have in America. And this falls right on my fellow hunters and shooters' shoulders right now. I'm talking directly to you and really any other person out there. You go to church on Sunday. You open your day with prayer. You end your day with prayer. You love your family. You talk about how you love America. You love your freedoms. You celebrate the 4th of July and everything that's great about this country. And then you don't go vote those values. When that happens, then evil and the devil wins. The people that want to take away your American freedoms, the people that want to turn America into a socialist, one world, globalist economy country, open borders, no law, no order, drugs pouring in, crime at a high rate, they win. And so I really appreciate the opportunity to come on today, Donna, because I'm hoping that with the work that we're doing, my prayer every morning, quite frankly, is that the words that come out of my mouth today, the messaging that we give to these hunters and these gun owners will resonate, will make them get off their tree stands or out of their duck marshes and go vote. And I just think about this. Imagine here you are, you're at the bridge at Concord when our experiment in self-government was getting its first go. And you're all gung-ho and you're there on the bridge and you're ready to go. And you look around and there's hardly no one behind you, and the ones that are behind you are sitting there eating ice cream. Mm-hmm. And they're not anything. We wouldn't have what we have. Davy Crockett, day one in the Alamo, he looks around and there's no one. You know what I'm saying? What if Eisenhower couldn't find 10 good men to hit the beaches at Normandy? And I know this sounds like, oh my gosh, he's way over the top on this. But the truth is, you have to vote. That is the greatest thing that we, the people, can do to protect our freedoms is get out and vote. Last point I want to make is there's a lot of people that say, hey, look, it doesn't matter. Your vote doesn't count. It's rigged. They're going to cheat. I guarantee you your vote will not count if you don't cast it.
Yeah, that's a certainty right there.
It's like hunting. I'm not sure I can make this shot. I guarantee you don't have supper if you don't take your shot. And that's what we're saying to hunters right now. This may be your last shot to save America. Take it.
Well, and to the point that I made before is that you don't worry about what the enemy does so much, is that you just got to get in there and outperform them in anything you do. You go in and you work hard, you outperform them, you do what you need to do. And I really believe that God honors our intention. So when we do what we're supposed to do, God can take that and multiply that in ways that we can't even imagine. If you look at them with our human eyes, you see hopelessness and, whatever will happen to me kind of stuff, right? But if you go forward and go, it's not my problem, really. The end game is God's problem. He's going to fix this. All I got to do is do what I'm supposed to do and walk and let him worry about the outcome. And I believe that he will honor that.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I just had this conversation with my oldest granddaughter this weekend. I told her, you know who my favorite Christian of all time is? And she's like, who, Grandpa? And I said, back in the day of the Romans, they would put Christians in the Colosseum and they'd release lions. And most of the Christians would hit their knees and pray for salvation. My favorite Christian of all time is the one that stood up and killed the lion. So sometimes God puts us in tough places, but we have to kill the lion. And that's what I say to my fellow Christians. it's okay to push back. You know, Jesus tipped the tables over in the temple. So I think we're at a point in time in American history right now that patriots, good Christians like all of us, we need to tip the tables over. We need to get out. We need to be the aggressor. We need to take the gifts that God gave us, our voice to speak, our hands to work, you know, and we need to get out and be living testaments to his word. And voting is the first thing we can do. I think that's a great way to serve the Lord, to thank him for all the blessings that we have here in the great country, the greatest country in the world. The greatest way we can thank the Lord is to go out and cast our vote. That's the greatest prayer I'm going to give him. In fact, I gave it to him yesterday, is to vote my values.
That's beautiful and well said there. And, you know, and I think just taking it very seriously, every single person needs to take this as, you know, their most serious job to do this coming week is, if you don't do anything else, get out and get your vote, you know, vote and make your vote count, make your voice heard. We need to just overwhelm them and outperform them. That's really what's going on. Go ahead, Shemane.
I was just going to say, this is Nazi Germany all over again. If you look back at what Dietrich Bonhoeffer did, and he went to prison. He stood up for his right, and he was looking at when the Nazis said, "Oh, you got to put the Nazi flag on your churches." He said, "No, I'm not going to do that." So many Americans, a lot of Americans are like you and Keith and Ted and so many, but more and more are getting that way. However, there's been a handful of us who have just been apathetic and sat back and thought, okay, Keith's going to take care of it for me. He knows how I want to vote. So his vote counts. Mine probably doesn't count anymore. This is the same thing all over again. And, you know, I hate to say this. I've been texting on and off with, I don't even know if you could say this on your show.
You can say anything. This is no censorship.
Okay. A good friend of mine, his name is Trennis Evans, and he was on my show. I have a show called Faith and Freedom on Real America's Voice. He was on my show yesterday, and he's been on my show several times. He was put in jail for being at the Capitol, for being welcomed in, patted on the back by law enforcement. Hey, welcome, come on into the Capitol. He went to federal prison for that. And I have another friend who was at the Capitol, didn't go into the building. He texted me last night and he said, I'm a little worried. And I said, I got to put you in touch with Trennis. Trennis just sent both of us this amazing text this morning that said, you know, too many people don't realize the consequences. If you're not willing to go to prison for this country, then you better get checked in with God and realize this is what they did in 1776. You got to pick a line, pick a side right now. This is good versus evil. I don't know how you can be a Christian and be a Democrat. I really don't understand that. Or a Catholic. Come on. How does that happen? Yeah. Nevertheless, we have seen the apathy. I'd like to see the numbers once this is all said and done. I'll bet you we have more voters turning out for early voting now than ever, because we've made it clear there's no turning back. We lose this, it's game over. We're going to continue to fight, but we've got to, I think, regardless of all the stress and anxiety that we all have. I mean, just talking about this, I get all riled up, and you know,
that's good.
It is good. But you know, Keith, we just talked and you're getting Ted all riled up and he and I are all riled up. As much as we do that, again, I go back to, we got to take care of ourself and our sanity. And that stress can cause anxiety and can cause all kinds of problems. So it's important to find joy in life. And I had on my show, I always end my show with funny pet videos, because sometimes it's serious. It's super serious. It's super, how do you get out of this? How do we look at human trafficking, child sex trafficking, and find anything good in that at all? The only thing is, we're talking about it. We understand it. We see the red flags and we're speaking out. We're voicing our opinion regardless of the potential outcome. And I think that's where we have to be. Just stay in your lane, focus on God. Every time I get a little stressed out, I put my nose in the Bible. I open it up. God speaks to me. And I think that's what's really important is we've got to understand the stakes. Never been more important. This is 1776 all over again. This is Nazi Germany all over again. And we got to, what President Trump said, fight, fight, fight.
Yeah.
Well said. That's beautiful. And to your point, I love it when Ted gets riled up because he says everything that all of us want to say. And we're like going, I love that guy. Keep going, keep going, brother. You need to keep saying it out there and putting it in clear and direct language so that, so everybody, there's no misunderstanding that whatsoever. And I think nobody can wiggle out from underneath that. So are you working in the child trafficking area right now to be, be bringing this forward? Because that's really a big deal. I don't think that a lot of people understand the whole issue with Planned Parenthood selling the babies and the baby parts and how nefarious this has actually gotten in our nation. People really need to open their eyes up on this and see it starts there, but it also goes through the direct human trafficking of children in this nation. Then America pays more for children that are being trafficked than any nation in the world. And we need to wake up to this and be like, this is over in this generation, this ends.
I had a guy named JJ on my show a couple of weeks ago. He has a new documentary called Treason Trafficked. And a very good friend of mine is Doc Pete Chambers, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers, who was in the show as well. And they both said the United States government is the #1 worldwide trafficker. And
Agreed.
when you look at this film, it makes you sick. So to answer your question, in 2020, I went down the rabbit hole, so to speak, and I found out terms that I didn't even know existed. I mean, I knew that there was, some sex trafficking, but amongst kids, and it made my blood boil. So I did get involved. I helped raise $100,000 for a friend of mine. His name is Eros Mackey. He's got an organization called adaptiveops.org, and they go in and they rescue kids and women. They're the boots on the ground that do this. And so I've worked with him, Lieutenant Colonel Pete Chambers, and so many others. Doing what I can do is calling attention. There was a time when I asked Eros, I want to help. How can I help? And we're so many Christians and patriots and conservatives want to get involved. But sometimes the best thing we can do is voicing our opinion, speaking out. When you find it's like the old, you guys are old enough to remember. I don't know if you ever did this, Keith, but remember the jump roping when there's two people swinging?
Yeah. Double Dutch.
You're double. Yeah. Okay. You're waiting for, okay, I'm in. We've got to find our in. It might be as simple as having a conversation with somebody standing in line. I do this whenever I see it. If I'm out and about and I see a Trump hat, if I'm at the grocery store, I'll say, I love your hat. Thank you for what you're doing. Most of the time they're veterans, and I'll say thank you for your service. But a lot of times it's just supporting other people, doing what you can do, handing out water bottles, going to North Carolina and Florida and other areas where there are natural disasters.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother conversation.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a great conversation, is the energy manipulation, because we all know that that's a real thing.
Yeah.
And there's so much evidence of it. They weaponize that.
Isn't it interesting that area, that had the biggest lithium mine in North America there? And isn't it interesting that like Tampa was slated to be a smart city, like Maui, like Lahaina. And, I'm just saying this would make a great movie, but if the government didn't want to purchase land, because if they purchase it at the going rate, it'd be so expensive. So they send a natural disaster. They declare that you can't go back into your homes. Guess what? We own it. We're the government. We're here to help. I'm just saying that would make a great movie. I don't know anything like that, but do you guys?
Yeah, I'm telling you, we had a little place down there on Anna Maria Island, and we lost everything. with the hurricane coming through, and watch exactly what FEMA was doing down there. And FEMA actually claimed and condemned so much land down there, and it's all right on the water. It's like that's a real easy way to displace people. That's another big story that we could certainly talk about, because I just kind of go past and go, it's God's anyway. If he wanted us to continue to be there, this wouldn't have hit. So now he's given me fodder to go after him and pummel him more for the criminality, intentional criminality, and the destruction of, it's not just our stuff, it's America. And that's where the focus needs to be. It's not on what sometimes God lets us lose some things in order to activate, boss level, this ain't happening. Yeah. And teach us to fight and come together to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's so important right now. We've been there. We've seen what's happened. And Ted and I were with President Trump in 2022, I think it was, many times, but also in 2022. And he said, this was when we were starting to get glimpses of what the Biden-Harris administration were up to, and up to no good and up to evil. And he said, I think it has to happen this way so that the evil can be exposed. And I think he's right. I mean, imagine, well, we're here now, we're fighting now, and that's really all that matters. We can go back and look at what has happened and wish we would have done things differently, but here we are, and we're going to pull up our bootstraps and our big girl panties. Sorry, big boy panties for you, Keith. And
Thank you.
We're going to fight. We're going to fight in any way that we can. We need to get good people in office. I don't know how, but we're going to have to wipe the slate clean and start all over again.
Top to bottom, house cleaning.
Top to bottom, the corruption in this government. I think, Keith, I think we're doing this all wrong. And Donna, we're doing this all wrong. Maybe we ought to get into Congress, because somehow they all know which stocks to pick.
Right.
And they go in, making, a couple thousand, 10, 20,000 a year, 40,000, whatever. And they come out as multimillionaires. I don't know. I want that gig.
Yeah. Well, I can give you some good news.
Okay.
So if with Hunter Nation's efforts right now, in some of these very key states, a lot of people call them swing states. We just call them hunting states because there's a lot of hunters there. By the way, Donna, Hunter Nation has partnered with the National Rifle Association in our Get Out the Vote efforts. So it's a combined effort between Hunter Nation and the National Rifle Association that we're moving these hunters and gun owners. And in fact, if I would encourage your viewers to go to hunternation.org. Hunternation.org tells you all about what we're doing there. And then also, if you have any questions about voting, whatever state you're in, go to huntthevote.org. It'll answer all your questions. It'll tell you when you can vote, where you can vote, all the important things. If you can still register, some states you can register right up to election day, like Wisconsin. So huntthevote.org and hunternation.org. But Hunter Nation has already had some great successes. We've overperformed in early voting. And so I think that bodes really well. But if you're out there and you're a hunter, you're a gun owner, if you're just a patriot and love America and you haven't voted, go to huntthevote.org, figure out where your polling place is, make a plan to vote, and then please get out and vote. Now, Shemane likes to end her shows with funny animal videos. I'll give you a funny story. So did you guys see this? Joe Biden went to vote the other day, and a guy behind him in the line is wearing a red hat that says "Reelect that MFer," which Shemane's husband, Ted, has hats that he's distributing that instead of "Make America Great Again," it says "Reelect that MFer." And I just laughed so hard because there's Joe Biden in line to vote, and a guy behind him is wearing Ted Nugent's "Reelect that MFer" hat about Trump. If you don't think God has a sense of humor, think again, because that's too good. That's better, no offense, Shemane, than a funny pet video.
Well, I agree. Especially, maybe I'll start doing funny Biden videos.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. That is absolutely.
And I don't know if you can show it. I actually own one of those hats. You said you're not censored, but by the way, and that's signed by Ted too. But that hat was right behind Joe Biden. So,
Yeah,
but
you
anyway,
can say anything. There's literally nothing you can't say on this show. And then we were getting hacked all over the place. And I told him, I said, just keep at it. You're going to have 100,000 little Donna Brandenburgs, and you're going to be playing whack-a-mole trying to knock me out, right?
not a girl.
So we put up 2 nodes on Tor, and we actually know how to put it up. And so the hacking substantially lessened at that point in time. So, yeah, you can say anything.
That's awesome. I
want to give kudos to one other group, Shemane, if I may. And America First Works is they're doing really God's work. America First Works. It's a PAC run by Linda McMahon, and they have some of the greatest volunteers that have put together a coalition army of other like-minded patriots. But America First Works is in the trenches trying to save America. And if your listeners and viewers don't know about them, you ought to take a second, go to America First Works. If you can help them financially, do it, because they're really putting their money where the need is the greatest, and which is fix America. That's awesome. Do you have any other people that need to be called out and recognized here so that people can know, your team? Because I know it takes a lot of people. Like for me, I'm running like 4 screens here. So if I look down, it's because I'm running a screen and that. Well, Ted Nugent, of course, but Shemane Nugent is leading a national weekend of prayer starting tomorrow for our faith division at Hunter Nation. Shemane has we've several videos, but basically bringing together a number of celebrities, number of just rank and file hunters and patriots to pray for America, because what we believe is that if hunters and shooters and just patriots in general will commune with God leading up to this most important election in our lifetime, there's no way that they're not going to get out and cast a vote. Because if they take 1 second of their day between tomorrow and election day just to think through this from a spiritual standpoint, they are going to vote. And so Shemane and Ted Nugent have been the biggest impactors when it comes to what we're doing here at Hunter Nation. Couldn't have done it without Ted and Shemane side by side. I know Ted gets a lot of credit because he happens to play the guitar better than anyone in the world.
True story.
But Shemane Nugent casts a damn big shadow herself, and she's done amazing things. Her show on Real America's Voice, Faith and Freedom is literally and Ted has a show on there too, but Shemane's is incredible. If people don't go to that, they should. Rock Bordelon, who's our chairman of the board, he owns Pursuit Channel and a number of other entities. He's put his money where his mouth is and helped build Hunter Nation to where it is. Donald Trump Jr., Kimberly Guilfoyle, Craig Morgan, Mark Geist, Benghazi hero Mark Geist, Jason Chaffetz, who I think would make a great FBI director, by the way, former congressman. How's that out of the box?
I kind of like that one. That was outstanding, sir.
Well, Jason's a true patriot. I mean, really, it's a combined effort. And honestly, my data guy, Dwayne Blankenship, and my media guy, Tim Lamar, they're the greatest of all time. I mean, these people are in the trenches every single day. They're people you'll never hear about, you'll never see. They're guys that died 4 rows deep on the bridge at Concord. But yet it takes all of us like that. I'm 5 rows deep, so you know what I'm saying? I mean, literally nobodies are going to save America with the help of superstars like Ted and Shemane.
Well, if you look at, what happened in the Bible, David and Goliath, David was what you would say, Keith, a nobody, and God uses us nobodies. I look at, what I do. Obviously you hit the nail on the head. I can't play the guitar. I can't sing. Although my puppy does love me to sing him lullabies. Literally, this dog, I've got to tell you, he's like, just, if you look at him, he looks like a brute, like these muscles everywhere. And he goes and he runs as fast as he can. And 10 miles a day he's running. And then at the end of the day, all I have to do is pet his little head and sing a lullaby to him. And he just tips over. So other than that, I can't sing. But God uses those of us. You never know when you're going to be called. So again, I want to encourage people who are watching this to join huntthevote.org, check out hunternation.org and get involved. This is how we make a difference, not by sitting back and letting Keith, Mark, or Donna, or Ted, or Mark Geist, or anybody else do the work. No, bro, it's you. God is calling you to step up wherever you're at and get involved.
I got to tell you, I had this picture as you were talking about singing lullabies to your dog, as Ted's sitting in there with excellent guitar savagery, just going at, playing his guitar, and your angel voice over here, singing to your dog. And I think it's kind of funny.
I got Ted singing to the dog too. So I'm telling you,
I would like to see that.
He once had when we first got him, I found this stuffed animal that he loved, and you push a button, it sang happy birthday. So he loved that little furry pet. And so I just started singing happy birthday. And every night since then, I go, well, Ted, it was 2 happy birthdays, and he started sleeping, and Ted's now singing happy birthday to him. So
oh, that's funny. I got to show you guys something here. We'll do a pet tribute here.
Okay.
Here's a small pet tribute. And that was yesterday.
Oh, nice.
I got his itchy spot, and he was his head was bending around in every single different way. And it was a fun day. So it's always good when we bring pets up.
It really is. I think that, there is no question that it helps relieve our stress. And they know our pets know when we're under stress. And I made a vow. We lost our beloved hunting dog, Happy, this year actually, and March 24. And this dog that we have now, his name is Jackson, was born 4 days after Happy. But I made it a vow never to walk by one of my pets without petting them, because their lives are so short. Yep. And they don't live long enough. And it really, a lot of times I'll be like this, oh, I just got to send this one last text. Hang on. And they jump in between me and the phone, and they just want love. And I think, that's what we really got to get back to. Relax when we can, breathe, de-stress, get involved, and fight.
Well, we're all going to be less stressed if good people get out and vote, because one of the taglines in our program is, when good people vote, America wins. Mm-hmm. And I believe that. And if all of the good people that you and I and everyone that's listening gets out and vote, and America wins, Shemane, we will be, I know you and your husband and I will be far less stressed.
Yes.
And because I believe that with the team, and of course at Hunter Nation, we don't advocate for a candidate or a party. But Keith Mark personally, he knows that President Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, and some of the good people on that team is the only hope for America. I truly believe that personally. And, and so that's how when I say vote your values, those are my values. I believe religious freedom. I believe the Second Amendment. I believe freedom to speak and worship as we please is on the ballot. That's why I'm personally voting that way. But from my Hunter Nation hat, I just would ask all my fellow hunters and patriots to go vote your values. And if they mirror mine, the choice is simple. And if they don't, I hope you get a cold and stay home. Just kidding.
Maybe,
Yeah, maybe.
God has amazing ways of changing things around. Sometimes we just got to sit back and watch. We're open to continue to talk here, but I always end my show every day with a prayer, and I always do the prayer. But I would love to hear the two of you pray today, if you wouldn't mind.
Go ahead, Keith.
Are you both comfortable with it, or do you want me to pray? It doesn't matter. We can go either way.
I open my day and end my day with Saint Michael the Archangel. Defend us in battle. Be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. And do thou, O Prince of the heavenly host, by the power of God, cast into hell Satan and all the evil spirits that prowl about the world seeking the ruin of souls. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Amen. Now I want to bless you guys. So I'm going to go into mine now, okay? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for Keith and Shemane and Ted and all of the wonderful people who have stood with them to work good works for your kingdom. We just are so thankful for everything you've done for us. And you know what? No matter what we see or hear, We trust you. We know you've got things well in hand and under control. And we're just sitting back waiting to see exactly what you're going to do and the miracles that you're going to pull off that we have no chance of doing it as human beings. But we know that all things are possible through you. I ask your favor to rest mightily upon Keith and upon Shemane and upon Ted and their entire families and all of those whom you love, that you would open doors for them, that you would richly bless them, and that you would give them more and more of a closer relationship with you every single day, so that it's seamless. And we are so thankful for the fact that you're such a good friend to us and every single person out there. We pray for those that are hurting and in need, that you would speak to them directly, and that they would know beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are here fighting for them every single day, that you will never leave nor forsake us, and that we can always turn to you no matter what we've done in our lives, and you will forgive us by the power of your Son, Jesus Christ. We are so thankful, our Lord and Savior. Thank you for this day. Let us go out and do the things that you want us to do by your strength and bravery and courage, and being your body here, the body of Christ, in this world, as we wait to go to the next. Thank you so much for everything. We love you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Go kill a lion.
There you go. That's what we need to do. There we go, boys and girls. We're going to go to that part of the show where we go to ding, 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 ding. Please go to brandenburgforgovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceder who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I want a discussion with the rightful president of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this wearing cowboy boots. We'll see who does it better. So at any rate, God bless you all. God bless all you whom you love, and God bless America. Make it a great day. You know what? It starts here. You got to be mentally tough and just say, no matter what somebody throws at you, if they do dumb stuff, that's on them. It's not has nothing to do with you. You don't have to be offended. You just look at them and go, okay, you made another bad choice during your life, and walk away, smile, and just remember that it's here with your mind strong, focusing on the things that matter, and it's here with your heart, seeing people, with a heart of empathy. That's what differentiates us from the psychopaths running things right now that are sitting in the seats of power. But I don't think they're going to be there for long. I think this is one of the biggest stings in the history of the United States of America. Just wait. Justice is coming. And when God's justice is, exacted on this thing, it's going to be for keeps. So I think we'll have a wonderful day today. Thank you so much for being on here. I just love you all so very much. And, I feel like a puppy with a tail wagging right now. It's like, I'm here with my peeps, and this is so fun. And I'm so proud of you guys. Aww. And so wonderful. So you have a wonderful day today. I hope that every good thing comes your way. And God bless you both so very much. And
thanks for having us.
Thank you. We'll be back. And tomorrow I have Off the Grid with Dr. David Kennigan, getting prepared for things, because we're pretty much extra sure that things are going to melt down at some point. Just don't know exactly when this thing is going to go in free fall. I've been praying for it for decades. It needs to go in free fall. And because you know what, we're going to go back to just being you and I, a manure shoveler like myself who likes to take care of horses, and being real people standing for each other's families. It's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. And so have a great day. Look forward to all good things, and we'll see you tomorrow.